Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive on getting financially prepared. We've got this awesome guide we're going to be pulling from, and honestly, I'm excited to unpack it.
It's definitely packed with insights.
Totally. And our mission, not just the how-tos, but those aha moments that get you pumped about taking control of your finances, like really excited.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because, it's not just knowing the steps. It's understanding the why behind them.
Right.
That's where things really click.
Totally. So step one in this guide is assess your current financial situation. Okay, maybe sounds basic, but they emphasize it for a reason, right?
Yeah, it's more than basic. It's foundational.
Okay, I like that.
It's like, when you're building a house, you don't just start without a solid foundation.
Yeah, makes sense.
And knowing your numbers, like really understanding your income, expenses, and net worth, it's not about judgment. It's about empowerment. The guide even mentions a study, actually, that found people who track their finances regularly have way lower stress levels.
Less anxiety, more control. Yeah, that's pretty appealing.
Definitely.
What about, okay, so we've got income and expenses, but what about net worth? I get that it's assets minus liabilities, but is that number, what's that really telling us?
It's like a snapshot of your financial health right now, in this moment.
Yeah.
But more than that, it's a benchmark.
Yeah.
So as you track it over time, you actually see the impact of the choices you're making. Imagine two people making the same income, but one of them has a higher net worth because they're making smart decisions.
Right, so it's not just what you earn, it's what you do with it.
Exactly. It's that power of understanding your net worth.
Okay. So we've assessed the situation, kind of ripped off that financial Band-Aid. What's next?
Now's the fun part.
Okay, tell me.
Setting financial goals. But not just any goals, we're talking SMART goals.
Right, SMART goals. Yeah, I've heard of those. Sometimes it feels a little, I don't know, corporate-y.
Right.
Is there a way to think about it that's more exciting?
Totally. Think of it like designing your dream life, but on paper. So the S stands for specific. Instead of saying, I want to travel, you say, I want to backpack through Southeast Asia for 3 months.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Way more specific.
And then measurable. You're actually setting a number.
Okay.
So instead of I want to save money, it's I want to save $10,000.
All right.
Achievable is super important. Don't set yourself up for failure with goals that are just like impossible.
Makes sense. So far, so good. What about the R, relevant?
Relevant means making sure your goals actually line up with your passions and your values. Don't chase someone else's dream. What really matters to you. Is it retiring early? Is it starting your own business? Owning a home? That's your R.
I like that. Figuring out what's really driving you. And T for time-bound.
Yeah. Every goal needs a deadline. That's what creates the urgency and helps you actually break it down into smaller steps.
Okay, all right. So we've got our SMART goals all mapped out. Now we need a plan to achieve them. Which brings us to the dreaded B word, budgeting.
The dreaded B word.
I have to admit, I used to think of it as like restrictive. Like I'm on this financial diet.
Yeah, I totally hear you on that one.
Yeah.
But the guide, it actually reframes this in a really cool way. It says a budget is not about deprivation. It's about conscious spending. So it's actually about aligning your money with your values and goals.
Okay, I like that reframing. But how do we actually create a budget that works? I've heard of the 50-30-20 rule, but are there other methods too?
Yeah, the guide actually dives into a few different approaches, like zero-based budgeting, where you basically give every dollar a job. But the key takeaway is this. The best budgeting method is the one that you'll actually stick with.
So finding what works for you, not just following some rigid formula. All right, and this brings us back to something you mentioned earlier, the importance of an emergency fund.
Yes, the guide calls this your financial freedom fund, which I just love.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, because that's what it is. It's that freedom from financial panic. Like when life throws you those curveballs.
Oh, yeah, I can attest to that. I remember when I was younger, I was like, emergency fund, I'm young. Nothing bad's going to happen. Famous last words, right? And then, bam, my laptop died right before this huge project deadline.
Oh, no.
Without that emergency fund, oh, man, I would have been in serious trouble.
It's not a matter of if, it's when those unexpected things happen. So the guide recommends starting small. Even if it's just $1,000 to start, it creates that initial sense of security.
Okay, small steps, I like that. How much should we ultimately aim for, though?
So the guide suggests building up to 3 to 6 months of living expenses,
Okay.
which sounds kind of daunting.
Yeah.
But even setting aside a small amount each week adds up over time.
So we're talking like rent, groceries, utilities,
Like that.
the essentials.
Exactly. It's covering those non-negotiables so if something comes up, you can navigate it without completely derailing your plan.
It goes back to what you were saying about like that lower anxiety. It's knowing you have that cushion.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've assessed our situation, set our smart goals, we're creating our budget, diligently building that financial freedom fund. Feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah.
What's next on this financial checklist?
Now comes a part that many people find challenging, but it's also incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
Tackling debt.
Yeah. Debt can feel like this weight that's holding us back.
Totally.
Where do we even begin?
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely emotionally charged. But, facing it head on is like breaking free. It's really powerful. And the guide emphasizes prioritizing high-interest debt, things like credit cards, because those are the ones that are costing you the most money over time.
Makes sense. Okay, what are the most effective strategies for actually paying down that debt?
The guide breaks down the two most popular methods. There's the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. So the snowball focuses on paying off the smallest debts first, which is great for quick wins.
Okay.
You get that motivation.
Yeah.
And then the avalanche prioritizes the highest interest debts. So you save money in the long run.
Okay, so it's more of like the math approach.
Yeah.
Got it.
But here's a fascinating thing the guide points out. There was this study that found people who use the snowball method, even though it's not mathematically optimal, they're more likely to actually stick with it
Really?
and become debt-free faster.
Wow. So it's not just about the numbers, it's also about what keeps you motivated, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's kind of a game changer. What are some like practical things we can do right now to kind of chip away at that debt?
Don't be afraid to negotiate. The guide actually encourages you to call credit card companies to ask for lower interest rates or even explore those balance transfer options.
Whoa.
You'd be surprised how often those tactics work.
Really? Okay, well, that's encouraging. It's good to know we have options.
Absolutely.
We don't have to face this alone. So we've tackled the tough stuff, gotten our finances in order, feeling pretty good about ourselves.
Yeah,
But there's more to financial preparation than just like getting out of debt, right?
there is.
What's next?
And this is where things get really exciting. Investing.
Okay, yes. Step 6 in the guide is invest wisely. And I'm already like feeling kind of pumped about this. It's always been exciting, but honestly also kind of intimidating.
Yeah, I get it. It's a whole new world, its own language, like a secret club almost. But it doesn't have to be that way. And this guide, it really breaks it down nicely.
Okay, good. I'm all ears. Let's demystify this.
One of the most important things to understand is compound interest.
Okay.
The guide calls it the eighth wonder of the world. And for good reason.
I've heard it described as like this snowball effect.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for my money, practically speaking?
Okay, so imagine this. You invest $1,000 today, and you earn, let's say, a modest 7% return each year. In 10 years, that initial investment would almost double.
Wow. Without doing anything.
Without you lifting a finger.
That's amazing.
That's the magic of compounding. Your earnings generate more earnings. It creates this incredible growth cycle.
It's like money making more money while you sleep. But where do we even begin? Do we need to become stock market experts?
No, not at all. The guide actually suggests starting with simple diversified investments. And a great option is index funds.
Index funds. Okay, I've heard that term thrown around.
Yeah.
Not really sure what that means.
Think of it as a basket of stocks. So it tracks a specific market index, like the S&P 500. So instead of trying to pick individual stocks, you're investing in a broad swath of the market. So you're instantly diversifying your portfolio.
Okay, that sounds way less intimidating than like me trying to pick winning stocks.
Way less stressful, too.
So we're diversifying, letting compound interest work its magic. What's next?
Steps 7 and 8 focus on protection and future planning, which are essential for that long-term financial well-being.
It's like we're building a solid foundation for the future. What are some of the key takeaways here?
So we talked about that emergency fund for unexpected events, but insurance is another layer of financial security. Provides peace of mind, too.
Right, it's like a safety net.
Yeah.
If something happens. What types of insurance are we talking about here?
The guide breaks it down into health, auto, home, and life insurance.
Okay.
Really stresses understanding your needs. because you don't want to be, overinsured or underinsured. You want to make sure it aligns with your situation.
Right, makes sense. So we're covered for emergencies, we're investing for the future. What else should we be thinking about when it comes to future planning?
The guide really dives into estate planning, which is something people often put off.
Right, yeah.
But it's so important to have a will to make sure that, your assets are distributed according to your wishes.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's easy to put off, but I know I need to do it. Anything else we should have on our radar?
The guide highlights the importance of building and maintaining good credit because it affects everything, from loan approvals to interest rates. Even suggests checking your credit report regularly to make sure it's accurate.
Okay, good point. Credit can be a bit of a mystery, but it's super important. Anything else you want to highlight from this section?
It stresses that financial preparation isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process. You're going to revisit your goals, your budget, investments, making sure they still align with, your needs and your priorities as they change.
I love that it's about being adaptable, making adjustments as you go. Well, we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive, and I have to say, I'm feeling incredibly motivated. Like, I want to take action. What are some key insights that you think would be most helpful for our listener as they move forward?
Definitely building that solid foundation, understanding your current situation, setting those smart goals, and creating a budget that works for you. And then, embracing that long-term thinking.
Right.
Through investing in future planning.
And remembering that it's not about being rich, it's about having options. Creating that life of financial freedom and security. So that wraps up part 1 of our deep dive. In part 2, we'll explore some common financial pitfalls and how to avoid them.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Ready to keep going?
Oh, yeah, I'm excited for this part. We laid a lot of groundwork, right? Talking about knowing our numbers, those SMART goals, budgeting, building that emergency fund, even dipping our toes into investing.
That's right, setting the stage.
But, let's be real for a sec. There are pitfalls out there, things that can trip us up, even when we have the best intentions.
Absolutely, even with the best laid plans.
Exactly. So in this part, let's shine a light on those pitfalls. And, more importantly, how to avoid them. This guide has some really great insights here.
Yeah, it does.
All right, lay it on me. What's the first pitfall we should be watching out for?
One of the biggest ones, and I bet a lot of people listening can relate to this, is procrastination. We should be on top of our finances, but it's so easy to just push it aside.
Oh, tell me about it. I'll start that budget next month. Or investing, maybe when I make more money. Classic.
Classic procrastination. But here's the thing, and the guide actually cites a study on this. People who delay saving for retirement, even by just 10 years, they end up needing to save almost twice as much each month to catch up.
Whoa. Okay, so it's not just laziness, it's actually costing us money.
Big time.
Okay, what other pitfalls should we be aware of?
Another big one is ignoring that emergency fund. We touched on it in part 1, but it's so important.
Right, like that safety net. If the unexpected expenses come up, it means we don't have to derail our whole plan.
Exactly. The guide shares a story, actually, about a woman who lost her job unexpectedly. But because she had a good emergency fund, she was able to cover her bills while she was looking for a new job. Avoided going into debt, avoided all that stress.
That peace of mind is so valuable.
Huge.
Okay, so we've got procrastination, neglecting the emergency fund. What else?
Overspending. This is a big one.
Oh.
And it's easy to fall into, especially with all the, tempting offers and must-have things out there.
Oh, the treat yourself mentality. I've definitely been guilty of that.
Right. The guide makes a good point, though. Overspending is not just about those, impulse purchases. Yeah. It's also about lifestyle inflation. As our income grows, it's easy to let our expenses grow right along with it.
Yeah, you get a raise, you upgrade your car, your apartment, maybe start eating out more, and suddenly, are you really any better off?
Right, exactly. The guide suggests a mindset shift here. Instead of asking, can I afford this, ask, does this purchase actually align with my values and goals?
Okay, I like that. Flipping the script a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So procrastination, emergency fund, overspending. Anything else we should be on the lookout for?
Another common mistake is focusing only on saving, but neglecting to invest. Some people are so afraid of risk, they keep all their money in cash.
But isn't it safer to have your money in cash, though? At least it's there. You're not risking it in the stock market or anything.
Sure, cash feels safe. But the guide points out that cash actually loses value over time because of inflation. They give this kind of startling example. $10,000 in cash today is going to have the same buying power as like $18,000 in 20 years if inflation averages 3% per year.
So you're actually losing money by playing it too safe.
That's what they're saying, yeah. Investing, even if it's conservative, it helps your money grow faster than inflation.
Okay, so even if it feels a little scary, it's important to at least get started with investing. We've covered some major pitfalls here: procrastination, ignoring the emergency fund, overspending, and failing to invest. What are some practical tips to help us avoid these traps?
Well, one of the most effective strategies is having clear financial goals and a plan to achieve them. Remember those SMART goals from part 1?
Right, yeah.
That's so key.
Writing them down, having a plan, it definitely keeps you focused, makes it easier to resist those tempting, shiny objects.
Sure.
But what happens if, our goals change or life throws us a curveball, which it tends to do?
That's where flexibility comes in. The guide really emphasizes financial planning. It's not about rigid rules. It's about adapting.
Yeah.
Regular check-ins, making adjustments, celebrating the wins along the way.
Oh, I love that, celebrating the wins. It's easy to forget to do that.
Yeah, we get so focused on what's next.
Totally. Any other tips?
Automate your savings and investments. Take the guesswork out of it. You set it up once, and that money is automatically transferred to your savings account, investment account, retirement account every month.
Okay, like putting things on autopilot. I like that.
Makes it so much easier. And the guide also reminds us that, building financial literacy is an ongoing process, whether it's reading books or listening to podcasts like this one or taking a financial course.
Never stop learning, right?
Exactly. The more we know, the better decisions we make.
So knowledge is power when it comes to our finances. I love that. We've covered some great strategies for avoiding those common traps. Before we jump to the next part, can you quickly summarize the key takeaways from this part?
Absolutely. We talked about those 4 major pitfalls: procrastination, ignoring the emergency fund, overspending, and not investing. And to avoid those, set those SMART goals. Have a flexible plan. Automate your savings and investments, and celebrate your wins. And of course, keep learning, keep growing that financial knowledge.
Awesome summary. Okay, so what exciting topics await us in part 3 of this deep dive?
We're going to delve into the psychology of money. We'll talk about how our beliefs and habits and emotions, all that stuff, influences our decisions. It's where things get really interesting.
I can't wait. See you there. Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, right? From assessing our situation to setting those SMART goals, budgeting, tackling debt, even exploring the world of investing. But now, let's get into something I think is super fascinating: the psychology of money.
Yeah, it's a game changer. We're going beyond spreadsheets and interest rates here.
Yeah.
We're really diving into the mindset piece, how our beliefs, habits, and emotions, all of that impacts our financial decisions. This guide, it really shines a light on this, and it's so important.
I've noticed that my emotions, they can play a huge role in how I handle money. Some days, I feel like a financial rock star. Other days, I'm hiding from my bank statements.
Oh, I get it. We've all been there. And the guide emphasizes this idea that we all have a unique money story.
Okay.
And it's shaped by how we grew up, our culture, family dynamics, experiences, all of that. And those stories, they become the lens through which we view our finances.
It's like an invisible script running in the background.
Exactly. And it could be affecting our choices without us even realizing it. The guide actually gives this really interesting example. A study found that people who grew up seeing a lot of financial instability are more likely to be impulsive spenders, even if they're earning good money as adults.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's these deep-seated beliefs.
It really is.
Okay, so how do we start to unravel our own money story? Like, where do we begin?
Awareness is key. The guide suggests taking some time to reflect on your own early experiences with money. Did you grow up with abundance or scarcity? What were the messages you heard about money from your family?
So it's like a little financial archaeology.
Exactly. We're digging into our past to understand our present. And once we uncover those patterns, we can start to challenge the beliefs that might be holding us back. Maybe even rewrite the narrative.
Okay, I like that. Rewriting the narrative.
Yeah.
So besides those early experiences, what other psychological factors come into play here?
Personality is a big one.
Okay.
Some people are natural savers. Others are spenders. Some are very analytical and detail-oriented, while others are more spontaneous.
I'm definitely a planner. I love spreadsheets and setting those financial goals. But my partner, total free spirit when it comes to money.
That's a great example. Different money personalities, they can definitely coexist. And the guide suggests that actually understanding those differences can lead to better communication, less conflict around finances.
Right, finding that balance.
Exactly.
Okay, now, the guide also mentions something called emotional triggers.
Oh, yes.
What are those exactly?
Those are specific feelings or situations that can kind of hijack our good intentions. They lead to impulsive decisions. So stress, anxiety, excitement, even guilt can make us spend or save in ways that don't align with our goals.
Oh, yeah, I know those triggers all too well. A bad day at work, and suddenly I'm browsing online shopping sites.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But the guide stresses the first step is recognizing them. Once you know where your triggers are, you can come up with strategies to manage those emotions and make more conscious choices.
So it's like taking a pause before reacting.
Exactly.
Breathe. Asking ourselves, okay, is this purchase really serving me, or am I trying to fix a feeling?
That's it. Breaking those patterns and replacing them with actions that align with your goals.
Yeah.
The guide actually has a really helpful list of alternative coping mechanisms, things like exercise, meditation, journaling.
Okay, those are great ideas. Shifting gears a bit here, the guide also talks about this idea of financial shame. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Financial shame, it's a powerful emotion. It can really hold us back. It's that feeling that, we're bad with money or not good enough because of our financial situation.
Right, like we internalize these negative messages and then we feel ashamed.
And the guide really stresses that shame. It thrives in silence. So one of the best things we can do is talk about it, whether it's with a trusted friend, a family member, a therapist, even a financial advisor. Sharing our experiences helps us to normalize them.
Breaking that silence, finding support.
Exactly. You're not alone in this. And the guide highlights that sometimes seeking professional help, whether it's financial coaching or therapy, can be incredibly empowering. It's investing in your well-being, just like investing in your physical or mental health.
So true. It's about creating that support system. This has been such an insightful conversation. We've gone from practical steps to this deeper understanding of the psychology behind our choices. What final words of wisdom do you have for our listener?
Remember, financial well-being is a journey. It's not a destination. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate those wins. And don't be afraid to seek support when you need it. I love how the guide puts it. They say, financial freedom starts with mental freedom.
That's so powerful. And I think true wealth isn't just about the numbers. It's about aligning our finances with our values, creating a life of purpose, and feeling secure, empowered, abundant. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into financial preparedness. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and practical tools to help you create a more fulfilling and abundant financial future. Until next time, remember, knowledge is power, and you have the ability to shape your financial destiny.